Hi everyone. Uh, we should have a good connection. I hope so. Um, so this is update number 2 on Sister Nya's experience with child care services and others involved in Austria unlawfully taking her children from her. So this is an important number 2 update. And let me see here to get Sister Nya on here. Bear with me a moment. Trying to find the icon. Ah, here she is. All right. We're adding Sister Nya so we can have a great update and great conversation on her.
Hi, can you see me?
Hi, Sister Nya. Can you hear me well
Yeah.
this far away?
Can you
Yeah.
hear me
Yes.
this time? You see me?
No, I don't see you, but that's great. I know you're there.
Okay, all right.
and and of course the others can see you, I believe. hmm Uh, so I didn't put on any makeup. I don't wear makeup. Uh, and having said that, this connects to, uh, let's say, just one quick story of how a child's parents in an Austria school had the teacher, I believe, calling child services to take the child away.
Yes, yes, yes. Since everything happened, I started to connect and find ones who are also having this kind of issue with the system as well. And I found a very strong mother who also wrote a book about what happened. So she had the child who has, I think you would call it special needs. And, and she was working with a different kind of organization as well, which are helping and assisting, children with special needs. But the thing is, they start to give her some rules, what she's allowed to do with her child and what not. And normally she's assisting her child, with everything, which is totally normal. But they said, like, you're not allowed to help in and to assist him to wash him. So that boy, went into school, and there was a teacher inside who didn't like him and also pointed out, you are not smelling well, you're not looking well. They also start to degrade him, about his notes, and and they start to bullying him in school, and that is something that is stressing someone very strongly, especially, in his case and situation, and also with his mother. So everyone was involved, also the child welfare. So what my opinion is, then it comes into a point where the child went into an epileptical attack, which he never had before. So he came into the hospital, and his mother were there, and the child welfare came in and gave her the disposal that the child is now taken away, with the reasoning that the school have made a report and saying he's not matching the appearance of other children there. So she was totally devastated. She was totally shocked. She had to went into a medical treatment because of her constitution, and they just took away the child, And later on, she figured out that that teacher already had a mental illness and was still working in school.
As
But
a
also,
public
all the other
civil
teachers were
servant.
helping each other. So, furthermore, she didn't want the child to be taken away, but they started to blackmail her and telling her if she's not signing any contracts, she will not see her child anymore. So, as a desperate mother who wants to have your child back, you would do anything in that case. so she just did. But you know, they had also several talks. She also had included others, you know, like a woman who is helping and assisting and fighting for children rights. But it ended up, you know, the child was taken away, and they took a video of him, and he just said, you know, he don't want to leave, he want to stay with his mommy, and he still had to go. And since then, she's fighting for her son. So she doesn't have the custody anymore. He's living, you know, at a different place. Nowadays, after I think almost 2 years, he's allowed, you know, to visit her, you know, for a couple of days or something. And what she also shared was, you know, he was back then when he was taken, he was totally fine, you know, with doing things by himself, and everything he has unlearned after that, you know. And since then, she's going more into researches as well as I did, you know. So I also uncovered and did some researches in regards of the money that is flowing into the
All
child,
right.
meaning like,
May I
yes,
may I divinely politely interrupt here, because I want to just go back a little bit, and I want to add a couple things to bring us right up to the money that you're going to speak about. Number one, so it's apparent that the system was the initial cause by instructing the mom to obey her rules on to obey the system's rules on parenting. And one of the system's rules was to allow for the child to clean himself, don't assist him, or what have you. So then she abided by the rules that the child care services gave her, did not clean her child. So then when the child went to school, the teacher reported the child as, let's say, unfit in appearance, and then the child care came and took the child. So very clearly you can see how this is all a collusion, an unlawful collusion and set up to take the children, to manifest the experience so that they can partially justify them taking the children. But what's important is what Sister Nga said in the beginning. They actually set it up themselves so that they can take the children. Big confirmation. Uh, and you know, so we see this much so far in Sister Nya's story and sharing. And as she said, so many more moms are coming forward, especially in Austria. And now Sister Nya is going to take us in to how this whole scheme is incentivized by the government itself and the payouts. Please go ahead, Sister.
I also have to add something to this story, because what we figured out again was this pattern that, you know, they, you know, to make it shorter. So they got themselves involved, then they tell you what to do, they control you, and, you know, they put a lot of pressure onto you and your children. Then if something small, you know, or something is happening, you know, they turn and twist everything around. They don't take the responsibility. They blame you for everything that is happening. They falsify some parts of the evaluation. You know, she also shared with I that they took some pictures of her flat while she was moving, which is normally that it is a mess. She never knew or saw someone taking picture, but then they said, you know, you are not in a good situation, you know, to raise children. But also, you know, after the child was taken and she broke down, which is also something normal, they said, you know, you are not in a mental stability, you know, to have children, you know. So there are several things with that. But also, you know, we got into this that, you know, where I have facts is, which I also saw in Germany, is if a child is taken away, the government pays money for them to be, you know, to stay at that specific place or to stay with other families, you know, and all those kind of things. Meaning, like, you know, I found a number, you know, at the government website, meaning like 2023, there were 909 million euro spent, you know, only for children to be paid, you know, 909 million euros.
Well,
So how could that
in one
happen? You
year.
know, in 1 year, yes. And, you know, there were about 51,000 reports, you know, to check if the child is endangered, just like in my case. And I think I have to check the numbers, but, you know, you can see it is increasing, and also, you know, that there is a lot of money involved into this. You know, you don't
Exactly.
know
May
how
I?
much money is flowing, you know, into other organizations, into school. What do they get from it? You don't know it, because, you know, for my researches, everyone is involved. I can see hospital psychological evaluator, they are gaining 3,000 to 5,000, you know, for evaluation. And afterwards, if they are saying the child is mental sick, they are still guiding them with psychological treatment and what have you, and then they got more money out of it. But what I
So,
also know is, you know, a lot of money is flowing into this, but the whole family court is some kind of unstable. When you look into different kind of cities, bigger cities like in Austria, like in Graz, they are completely overflowed and overwhelmed. Meaning, like, you know, one case would take years to get through, you know. So there's a lot of money flowing in also, you know, for the lawyers and everyone involved into this, you know.
yeah, may
So
I, sister?
yes.
Yeah. Um, okay. All right. I retract okay, and I say all right. All right. So what you just stated there is with the system, it's actually designed to lengthen out the process, if you will. And that is done intentionally because the whole time that the children are away from the mother, the longer that they can create a scenario to keep that separation, the system is actually designed to lengthen the duration of that as much as possible. Going back to the story about the mom, how they somehow come and took pictures of her apartment when she was moving in the middle of a move, unbeknownst to her. But then they manipulated and used that against her and, you know, tried to say she's an unfit mother. Now, this is very important for any moms listening. Once again, the system creates the unfit situation, so they cannot blame that directly on the mom. It's the system that does this when any is deprived of any of a good, let's say, a good, comfortable living place, because the system creates the poverty, if you will, and causes these dire um, living situations. So it's not the fault of the mother or the dad or the parents, it's the actual system. So don't anyone take the blame if you're in an impoverished environment that you have to live in, because it's actually the system that caused this. Number two, with the child, what anyone can see with Sister Nya's sharing of that story, after the child that was taken in the story that we began with here, he began to have epileptic seizures. And what has occurred, this results because of the increased in induced stress upon the individual. So what we actually see is it made this young boy, you know, even sicker, if you will. So the undue stress is very important, what they put on all children, and it affects them in one way or another. Bringing us back up, so Sister Nya, you have found a money trail, if you will, and also what I'll share is that we have at least another also in another country in Europe that has also identified the money trail. Now, it's important to know that the money trail, if you will, where let's say a school is getting paid, or let's say a psychologist, what we are looking at here is how the whole taking of the children is actually incentivized through a profit, through the money. So what I need to say about this, because um, the whole system is incentivized with reward, monetary reward, which is concessions. What it does, it makes the teachers, if you will, and the ones at the lower end of the bottom of the civil servants, what it makes them to get rewards for this, what they will do is also begin to create situations to set the children up to be taken because of the monetary reward, the kickback that they get. So at this point, I will ask the question, Sister Nya, that you have at least seen that the money goes to the schools, if you will, and the child care. But my next question is there any evidence yet that, let's say, if the money goes to a school, does the actual teacher, him or herself, that reported the child, do they actually get any kickback, any money from it?
The thing is, I'm still investigate this. I only heard it's somehow there are documents existing there already at the parliament, right? So I don't have it yet. So I'm still investigating to get more facts out of it, because what I'm doing and what I'm sharing is based on facts, and researches, and real cases. So I just said there is, but I heard it, and I will get more of it, to strengthen our evidence as well. So the thing is also, what did I wanted to add here also? Just give me a second if I can get it back. Yeah, the thing is also, normally in Austria, you will get child money as well, per month. So if the child is taking away, that money is also gone. So it's also interesting, when they put you into a poverty because you're a mother, it's hard for you to get a job or what have you. They can also come and say, oh, you have too less money to raise a child, and they take it away. But why get the government so much money, to take care of a child per day? And, in Germany, there are more documents where you can clearly see how much money a child, it will be paid for a child, per day.
Yes.
So,
So how
as
much?
you can see, again, it's created.
Yes. So how much money is created and paid for a child per day once they're in health and child care? So what was that actual figure that they're paying?
I think it's between 117 to up to 300, 400, 500. It also depends, how, if a child is in special needs, meaning like it get more money as
So
well, you
this
know.
is to make this clear. This is one day that a child is with child care that the government gives anywhere between $117 to three or four or 500 a day. While at the same time, when a parent has a child at home, the government maybe only gives about $10 a day to the parent. And when the government takes the child away, the parent doesn't get anything, but the institution, the child care institution, gets anywhere perhaps to up to several $100s for one day for having the child.
The more also interesting thing is, or, I don't, it's not that interesting, but, if you have a child with special needs, they allowed, you know, to step into your life and take the child away until it gets 21. But nowadays they have changed it and raised it to 24, you know. And, you know, it's, I mean, I saw a lot of pictures of the children. They are amazing. You know, they are beautiful seed children. I have to say it because they're energetic field. But, you know, I also heard about stories, you know, from, I had direct contact with those mothers, you know, like, for example, there was a mother who was originally from Ukraine, and she flew to Germany, and she and her partner lived, you know, at the family's place. And every time, you know, there was someone coming, you know, and talking with her, and she didn't know because she didn't speak German, and they never put, you know, some translator beside her. So what happened was also, you know, at a specific point, she just realized that this woman was a supervisor. And then the day before they took her 4 or 5, I don't know the age, child away, the husband of that woman sent her a text message, which was clearly a sexual assaulting message. And on the day after, the child welfare come, you know, with the police, telling her that they are now taking the child away because she once said that she's killing the child, which she never did. You know, they just took her away. And since then, she's trying and fighting to get her child away. And this is 2 years ago, you know. But furthermore, she shared with I a lot of stories with other mothers in Vienna, which flew from Ukraine, you know, refugees, and where a lot of children were taken away, you know, and they are all, you know, in Vienna, they are all in poverty. They don't know what to do, you know, they don't get any assistance either, you know. But also, you know, I have to tell you, it's quite intense to do the researches, because the more you get into, the more you connect everything, the deeper it gets, you know. So there were also a lot of children, you know, who they called are some kind of system sprenger, meaning like they can't handle them. They were put into, you know, from the Vienna childcare, you know, into a specific place. I think it's called Rosenhügel, and it's related to Am Spiegelgrund, which is related to an S time where they did a lot of psychological and medical experiments where a lot of children have died.
Was this the one during the war that with many that were there, they kept the 800 brains or what have you in bottles that you know, with the children, and there is a monument to that gross devastation. What occurred? Is this the same area, the same
Yes,
place?
it's related to it. It's close to the zoo, the oldest zoo in the first zoo in whole Europe. And there's a lot of story, you know, connected with it. You know, there are a lot of mental sickness and everything. But, you know, you can't find anything in the news right now. But I know, you know, from other mothers, or, you know, from a mother I connected, she has a lot of
A
evidence,
lot of
and
evidence.
real
Yeah,
evidence that the children were taken to that place, pumped with medicaments, and came out, you know, completely lifeless, meaning like no, you
exactly.
know, yeah,
May I just interject here? Anyone that wishes to do the research, there is more than enough online, as Sister Nya is saying. But what you will find is human experimentation on children and adults worldwide that governments have did. One of the more recent ones that at least I believe there's been some form of justice is what is called the Little Danes experiment in Denmark, where they actually took children from mothers, if you will, in Greenland and took them to Denmark to train these children to be, let's say, somewhat aristocratic as well. And what I need to say, even though I forget the years when that occurred, it's been, you know, decades, I believe, possibly 72, Father is saying, so more recent. But the importance, it just come to the surface to be exposed more so a few years ago. So the point being is that they keep these things hidden, and they have done it. You know, once you do your research with all these experiments, you see that it takes decades to come to the light after all the great damage and harm has been done, typically in the past. So let me say right now, in my opinion, in Austria, we're just uncovering, excuse me, the tip of an iceberg of ongoing experimentation. And it's very reasonable and rational to say this because of some of the testimony you have heard here shared with others to Sister Nya that shows how they actually manipulate the situation, which reveals and exposes intent, deliberation to do it, to get the children. But where they are so intent to get the children and also incentivized by receiving money from the government to do so, this is a child trafficking business, in my opinion, and it's totally immoral. But it's occurring under the guise, if you will, of institutions like child care centers that are actually have an underlying agenda, and a lot of that is experimentation, psychological experimentation upon the children. So when we look at a little bit of this information, and as we gather more, we are seeing, beginning to see, at least I am, signs of where the children are subjugated to psychological, at least, testing. And again, when you get into psychological testing and pseudoscience directed at children that are perfectly fine, like Sister Nya's children, they are actually above average in school and definitely star seeds and intelligent. And with this, what you see and what we're beginning to see is that the child care services is attempting to indoctrinate and conform them to fit in to the lower controlled society as well. And what I also feel, in my opinion, is that they're making excuses to keep the children longer and longer. Although it's all unlawful, what they are doing, they are attempting to substantiate what they're doing to deliver something to a public. However, in this great time, what is occurring, the public sentiment is gathering to uncover what is actually going on, the gross macabre of what is actually happening. Go ahead, sister. Thank you for allowing me to speak so long.
Yes, I totally agree. What my research is, doing my research is what I found is, that all the information, or the results from experiments flow already into the education system, and also, into the whole society system. Meaning, like, why do they take, the system breaker, the hardest one, to put them in the hardest place and put them into medication? It's everything, also related to ADHD, like to seduce the child with medicaments and telling it's a sickness, which is not, but also, the indoctrination, but also, the connection with Heinrich Groß, who was involved in Am Spiegelgrund, who was later on, hired by the court as an evaluator, and he created guidelines for it. You know, I also investigated and saw all the people who are involved into those experiments back then. Yes, they went in front to court, but you know they got some punishment, but nothing never happened to that. So the government of Austria just put them back into the same place and allowed them to continue with the experiments. What a lot of people don't know and see is, you know, the whole society, the whole education system is built on those psychological thing, you know, like gaslighting, manipulation, blackmailing. If you don't do that, you will be punished. You have to fear the system. You don't have to ask. Don't ask the system. Just obey, blindly obey, you know, all those kind of things. And the moment you're stepping up and you're stepping out, you know, and they know that they don't have control over you, they try everything. They turn everything around. They make up things, you know, they try to blame you, you know, which happens to I also often, you know, where I literally have to stand up and to see that none of them, especially in the school system, have social competence, you know, and you know, everyone is holding on to that system, but also everyone is afraid, you know, to take responsibility about the wrongdoings they have done, you know. So it goes very deep. There is a lot of things going on here, you know, and it's nothing. Everything is based on facts as well, you know, as you can see, because everything I'm saying, you can do a lot of researches and you can find it out, you
Yeah,
know. So
well, when you speak as you're doing to many victims, if you will, of the system, they are also intimidated and coerced, as you said. So this intentional intimidation is to keep them silent and keep them separated. However, with what we do, no, it's important that all of you step up, unite, and speak out loud, because this is the only thing that ends this, and it's also for your own safety. The longer you keep separated and not speaking things, the longer, if you're a mom, the longer you're controlled. And let's say in the past you would never see your children because you know what's occurring. However, by uniting in this great time and coming together as one powerful voice with all of this powerful, incontestable evidence and testimony you have, it breaks the system down so that no more children are taken worldwide. So it's very important. You know, the U.S. also is very notorious with the same thing. Even though right at this moment we're on speaking more so about Austria, it is prevalent worldwide because it is the techniques and the tactics that are prevalent worldwide. What the child care services and governments use. So again, what we're seeing, it's intent, it's intentional, and how they manipulate and concoct stories, if you will, to entrap ones and to blackmail them. For example, with Sister Nya said, with the Ukrainian couple that came to Germany, they sent some sort of a, uh, how will I put it, some sort of a setup on her husband's phone, and to blame it on him. So you know this runs very, very deep, and worldwide we have to come together now to put an end to what has been occurring. Now, right at this moment, with GPMS.WORLD, which is the new replacement system for the world, is the divine law and also the monetary system for every individual. And what it is, it eradicates all of this corruption and kidnapping of children in human experiments without getting into how it does it. What I guarantee all of you, it does it. It stops it all forever, and it's so important as well to come together with GPMS.WORLD as we take things forward and clean up all of this corruption worldwide by exposing it in the least. Go ahead, sister.
So I have also to share that I never ever consented to them that they are taking my children away. I never consented in court with that they were taken and brought into that place. I never consented to any clinical or studies, with them. So everything that they are doing is against my consent, and it's a crime. I never, as a mother, I never consented to it, no matter what they're doing, because I don't,
And
and
you
they do
actually,
know it.
yeah, you actually uh, asked them to show you where they own the children, and you give them several days to reply. There was no reply because they cannot show any proof that they own the children.
Yes, it's what I also saw is I was so curious, and I was like, there are so many cases of child abduction, like 50,000, 70,000. So why I never see anything on the newspaper? So I talked with that woman, and she had also a lot of evidence, from others. There is someone who was the leader, or, very high above as an evaluator for the child welfare in Carinthia and Tyrol. And what he did was he was examining children naked, especially when the parents were not there. So what happened with that guy? A lot came up to the court, but nothing happened to him. But where is he now? He's now working for the media. So as I would connect the dots, oh, interesting. So that's the reason why not a lot is coming up. But every parent is in fear, to lose their children, to speak up, especially in my area. You can see zero. Nothing went public. So why, So sometimes, while something comes into the media, just like a, illusional thing, right? But there are many, 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 many cases behind that, So I also have to bring that up because that's very quite serious from my perspective.
So the police director in Vienna, or one of them, she called you the other day. Do you wish to share what occurred with that as part of your process, our process of going through this to getting the children returned?
Yes. So we had an email campaign, when the children went missing, were kidnapped. And a lot of ones, worldwide, felt a lot of compassion, and also wanted the children to be released, right? So some of them were also overflowing the mailboxes, of the different kind of police departments in the state, but also in Vienna. And I'm still trying to get the police report of it, and my friend does it as well. So at a specific point, I think it was a couple of days ago, I wrote the case number again, and I said, I do want to have the police report, because you have to give it to I. And I also again said, you are taking the children unlawfully and against human rights. You don't have any evidence. You have to return the children. You don't have any proof that you own the children. And I demand you to give me the children back. So I also have put her number on it because, she's one of the federal department and you don't get any names. So she was completely annoyed and called me back and somehow angry. And we had that talk and she was like, what do you want from I? And I was like, give me the police report, And she said, I can't give it to you. And I said, why not? I'm involved. And she said, yes, that's a criminal thing. And, we did some investigation and we can't do that. And we don't have anything to do with it. And I said, no, you were involved into this. You have taken away the children. You saw they are perfectly fine and you took them away, And now you're saying the other one is included, But, I had the discussion with her, and they are all the same, meaning like we don't have anything to do. We just did our job. But was it not the same, back then in times of Second World War, when a lot of people said, I just followed order, and ended up, being in front of the war court. I don't know if anything happened to them, because
But
we know there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
But
this is important what you just brought up because they say they use a lame excuse that they're just doing their job. However, when they're informed that they're engaging in unlawful activity, and if they continue to do so and not provide you with evidence, if you will, they're denying the due process, but also they become an accomplice to the crime themselves. So they are given the opportunity to provide immediate remedy by giving you what you request. If they renege or if they deny you of that, they are actually concealing and are contributing to the crime. So they actually become an accomplice. So in this case, this one with the police you were speaking about, she is now an accomplice in the case, in the criminal case. What is unraveling here to identify the network, if you will, and all of those that are connected. And this is very important with anyone that's listening. Once they are informed they're acting unlawfully, they must do the right thing. And if they don't, then it shows that intentionally that there is intent there to conspire and to act unlawfully. And in that moment, you may not get any satisfaction in the moment, but what you do is you compile a documentation of this, and it becomes incontestable criminal evidence that you can use later. So every time with everyone involved, as what Sister Nya is doing, is giving them the letters or in person with witnesses saying you're acting unlawfully, and you have the opportunity to do the right thing. And if you don't do it now and provide us with Sister Nya with information, then you are concealing and you are contributing to the crime, which makes you an accomplice.
yes, the thing what I figured out is, I said to her, you lured me into a trap and took away the children, so you are involved into this. And I said to her, well, so you want to tell I you don't give me the report because there are things inside which I'm not allowed to see? And she said, yes, because then I said, okay, well, so you tracked me down as a non-criminal, and now you're telling me I can't look into the case because it's not a case about a criminal act, right? But you tracked me down as a criminal, and now I can see how you tracked me down, right? So that doesn't make any sense at all, so that's what I was speaking with her, because I clearly know that there are information how they tracked me down, how they find me, but in the same time she said, if it is a criminal case, you can take a look into it, but because it's not, you're not allowed. So that's some kind of yeah, it's a conflict. It doesn't make any sense. So the only thing I can do, what I did, is also, what everyone is able to do. I called in court and I asked her, I want to look into my case. And she was like, your case is not here. And I was like, what does this mean? My case is not here. And she said, yeah, well, we don't know where your case is. And I said, but that's not good because I want to see in my case. So what are we doing? Because I also need, other copies, of other cases. And she said, well, I can send it to you. And I said, no, I want to go there personally and to make a copy of my case because I want to see what is the information that is laying on court, not what they are copying for I. And what you can also do is to check the numbers. Check the numbers if there is everything inside the case. Meaning, like, if there is a number missing, there's an evidence or a sheet or something missing. So the thing is, I have talked with her, and she said it could be, that my case is at the judge place, which could be. So I called her, again, a couple of days later, and then I told her, about that I will come, on Monday and will take a look into my case to see what's inside, you know, what have they created, you know, because honestly, I don't know, because what I can see is a pattern which is coming up, you know, for all the mothers, which is always the same, you know. As soon, I have to say, you know, there are a lot of YouTuber and videos outside who everyone tells you, pay attention, take care about the child welfare. Because the next thing is also here in Carinthia, a lot of lawyers in Carinthia don't want to go against child welfare. So what position has the child welfare here in Austria? Why are they able to act that way? Because I also remember I talked with the police and she said, the woman from the federal department, she said, yes, there were a court order. And I said, no, that was a disposal. There was no court order and you took away the child without my consent. And she said, no, that is not happening because you need a court order. And I said, yes, you do need a court order, but you didn't have one. So what I was also figuring out is on the day of the court appointment, I received a letter from the court, from I think from the court or something. So in that letter, I saw that the woman from the child welfare has written on the 25th of March, it was 4 days after the children were taken, that she requests on court to transfer the full custody temporarily to the father, which she clearly knows who is endangering the children. Then she requested the children to be staying in that crisis intervention center. Then she wanted to have a clinical test, psychological and clinical test for the children. Also some clinical tests, you know, about if I'm able to raise children, about my mental health, you know. And also then later on, only visiting times for the mothers. And intense guidance with psychological treatment for the father and the children. I mean, the children were perfectly fine. And, you know, as you can see, as I was in the court, you know, when I was sitting in the court, no, the judge didn't speak to I. She looked at my ex and she was like, okay, well, you know, I think you will agree with it that the children will stay around 1 month or something in a crisis intervention center, that we can't give you the custody right now, but we can also give you the children back, you know, because it's very difficult, you know, because where do the children then go, to the mother or to the father? And we do agree that there's no one else that can take custody except you. So you would then say that's objective, that's not bias, you know, that's not everything is made up, you know. And she was clearly targeting I and clearly not being objective and respectful.
Yeah,
You know?
wiggling, trying to find their way out of it to substantiate things. So they're trying to patronize you, if you will, so that yeah, they can wiggle their way out of it. So we've seen them begun to do that in you know, more than one way, I would say, in my opinion, with what you and I what you have shared with me, you know, over the last week or so since we did the last live. You know, Sister Nya, with this, what what options do you have? Meaning that, you know, they have the children unlawfully uh, in court. Um, the psychologist was allegiance bias, which is a disorder, but it's actually intentional, meaning that even the judge deprived the court at knowing, and what the child care services had, of the abuse from the ex, where he tried to strangle you and other things. So they intentionally, purposely did not allow that to come out in the family court. And also, they denied you your process at putting that into the court. So, what you look at here, you know, everything that they are doing is obviously unlawful. But when you look at this, And for any mom in this situation, what are your options? You don't want to get violent because then they use that against you, and that is part of their tactics as well, which they attempted with Sister Nya to get her violent in the court. Because if they could get her violent, then it would substantiate more of a reasoning to show that for them she was an unfit mother. So you need to understand the trickery involved here. And what you need to do as we're sharing things, and as Sister Nya and the children are going through this experience, we are also showing you and educating any of you that's watching what you need to do in this situation. And this is to use the higher instruments of law, what we have with GPMS.WORLD. So you use these higher instruments, if you will, to overpower them. And at any time, if you become defensive and let them control the show and keep telling you what to do, they have always got control over you, and they will subjugate you to whatever, but they always control you, and they keep the separation by doing that. So what Sister Nya is doing in this case is being the example. No, you've got to overpower them and come from the moral laws. With their legal system, it's obviously corrupt in so many ways, and we have shared a few of those ways here where the rights are violated. And with simple law, everyone has the right, even within their legal systems, to a proper their defense, and they are innocent until proven guilty. However, in Sister Nya's case, you have what we call tampering with evidence, abuse of authority by the child care services one. By when I say tampering with evidence, is that she was selective with the evidence. She was in receipt of the violent acts, but she would not put that in court. So this is a criminal act of tampering with evidence, or whatever name you wish to put on it, but also an abuse of authority, which is also criminal in the Austrian criminal acts and codes. So what you see with this, where they are intentionally and blatantly breaking their own laws, you see that they are so desperate for these children, without going into more of the reasons why, other than saying these children are advanced, and it makes these children more of a prize to their experimentation and other things. However, in this overall thing, the children are fully protected because this is an important divine expose what is occurring at this time. Uh, so getting back, what they do not, for any moms listening, do not resort to violence, because if they get you in fear and in violence, then they will use these things against you. So what we're saying, at least at this time, your most wisest options are coming together as a big group and applying the absolute law against the establishment to get the children back as soon as possible. You do not want any violence in this. You do not even wish to get angry at them, even though you have, let's say, anger in, you have to manage that anger to not let it turn your thoughts into a fear response. Because when that occurs, when you are in a defensive fear state trying to protect, what it does, it takes away your consciousness, it lowers it to knowing how to do the things to overpower the situation. I'll stop there. Are you still there, Sister Nya? If you're still there, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. Can you check your phone? Can anyone say if Sister Nya is still here? Is it just I'm on my phone, so is my mic on, Brother Barrett? Is my mic working? Thank you. So it's Sister Nya's mic is not working. So, Sister, if you can hear that, apparently they can see you, but I don't even see you now. All right, we'll wait for Sister Nya to come back on here. And so while I'm waiting, as some of you or all of you that's watching this can begin to see the actual crimes that is behind this whole thing. But again, it's worldwide. And yeah, thank you. So we'll just wait till Sister Nya comes back on here. So she is currently in Austria, and with this, as we say, what we're beginning also to find that over since 2021, I think, over the last several years, in Austria alone, over 20,000 over 20,000 refugee children have gone missing, and Sister Nya's coming back. And in Italy, it is slightly higher. So what this is pinpointing, and you can say a lot of the roads lead to Rome, if you will. What you're seeing is Italy with perhaps the biggest number of missing refugee children, with Austria the second at still over 20,000. But then the next one, the third one, is Belgium at less than 3,000 are missing there. Netherlands are missing ones. You know, they're all of the European countries. And I believe what Sister Nya was saying, it's over in the last several years, over 55,000 children have gone missing in Europe as well. And what it's looking like is the biggest portion of these, in my opinion, are at the hands of governments, child services, the institutions, if you will, as we uncover more and more things as we go forward. So you're back, Sister. Go ahead.
Yes. What I also figured out is that I looked a little bit on the statistics. So there is indeed 8% or something, you know, from all the people who didn't consent it to the children were taken away. So there is something going on, but I also have to say the last time when I went into court, you know, and just applied the things, you know, about what I have collected. What I didn't share was afterwards, you know, they invited me to have a chat with the woman who are doing the clinical tests, and we're at the center. So I didn't know, you know, what is happening, and I just went there. But something has changed, you know, because of the things I brought up in court. So this time, it was the first time they didn't attack I. They were not judgmental, but, you know, I still reserved, you know, and distanced into this because I don't, you know, I don't trust them. You know, it's just honesty, you know, because I know a lot about this and how it went in before. And it was the first time I was able, you know, to
Well,
share.
absolutely. Yeah, they're all involved. I mean, they get paid by the system, so they are all involved to some degree. But yes, so go ahead, please.
So they keep on asking me things that came up in court, meaning like all those kind of things, where they put negative stuff onto me. So I was able, to clarify that, and also, share about why my ex is, why my child is having fear about them. But the thing is, it was so interesting. And she said, like, everything is fine with your children, but it's so weird, because your child keeps repeating something phrases like someone have manipulated or instructed to her. And I said, well, what kind of phrases is it? And she said, yeah, she's saying like her father is dumb. And I was laughing because I was like, yes, that's how a child would speak. And I said, my child is speaking with her friends in school. They founded a secret girl club where they are speaking, about her problems, and she shared it with I, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But I had to share that with her, because again, she was like, okay, that's weird. Is the mother doing that? And I said, no, the last year where the children were not seeing their father, I always told them, everything is fine. If you love him, it's totally fine. It's your father. If you want to go there, I call him. But the thing is, they never decided to do. So, but I saw clearly changes because of the last quarter point, because they now know, they are in some kind of specific position and spot point because of everything. Because I don't back up. I don't, they can't break me. And I don't consent in anything into that because it's not my fault. So what I also did was I went to the director of school and to the teacher, and I asked her if she have shared the first incident with my child where my child was completely in fear, shocked, and crying. And she said, no, she didn't report it. And I was like, why not? Because as I know, as an official organization, you have to report such incidents. And she said, well, because the father has also custody, and the father came in, the second time, and she called the child welfare lady again, and she said like, oh, everything is fine, he can do that. And again, the child welfare woman knows everything. So what I also have to add is I don't know how much the child welfare lady have submitted, to the judge. Right now, I don't know, so I can't do any suspections here. But
So
the thing is,
just for a little bit of clarity with this, apparently at least two times, um, Aurora, your daughter, was visited at school by the ex, and no one told you that this was going on, and it put her in extreme stress and anxiety, and they kept this from you from at the school. Is that correct?
yes, yes. They said something I couldn't said it when I met them, but she said like, yeah, we ask everyone involved, but no one asked and also the teacher said, oh, you never told me about it. And I said, Aurora don't want to have a whole private life, open up, to every child. She don't like it. And she said, well, you had to say it to I. But then I just remembered when I came back home, I shared with her about the incident. I said to her, my daughter said, you told her that she has to go with the father. And she came home, she was totally in shock, and she was crying. I didn't say father, I said, and you said she has to follow that. And so I already told her back then how Aurora reacted, and still she said like, you didn't said anything to I. And I also trusted back then the institution to know, like, you entrust your child to a school, right? And the children are trusting the teacher and the director. So, but again, they called the child welfare lady, and she said everything is fine. So the second time she had to meet him again, but this time she was behind the fence. But I also worked with my daughter, and we talked a lot about it. And I said to her, you just tell him what you want and what you don't want. So she kept herself together, was still paralyzed, and the teacher and the doctor said to I, oh, everything was fine, she was fully protected. And she didn't said no. But at the same time, I was like, You know, when you are in fear, you are paralyzed.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what should you do?
the
You
child
know?
had trust with the teacher as a peer to protect her. And it was just the opposite occurring. So yeah, the child will look at the teacher as an entrusted authority, but the teacher was actually betraying her trust. And this created even more stress, you know, when she came home.
Yes, the next thing that also popped up was, you know, I saw them trying to make up things, and I will share why. Because, you know, at first the director said, you know, I only saw your daughter 2 times, so I don't know her well, right? And then I said to her, I was there, you know, before Aurora left school, right? And, you know, I brought her there to tell them that she don't want to go anymore, right? And I said to her, you saw her, she was crying. And she said she wasn't crying. Okay, my daughter is not crying the whole time and sitting there. She had tears in her eyes. She's a very strong one. You know, she kept herself, you know, through the whole situation, right? And also, you know, the teacher was there and saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't protect you. And would I have known it before, you know, I would have protected you, right? And then in the next moment, the teacher said, well, your daughter only said she don't want to do homework. And I was like, you know, why haven't you, you know, it doesn't make any sense. And she said, yeah, but Aurora was fine there. And I said, you know, my daughter, she loves, she's very open-minded, she's very happy, but she wasn't. She was sitting there, she was you know, in fear, she didn't know. And then she said to I, you know, but well, to bring your daughter into school and to speak with a 55-year-old woman, to explain her why she don't want to go to school. Do you don't think that's a bad thing? And I was like, well, you know what? You know, children in school, you're putting children in school in front of all the other children. They
Yeah.
are already in
And you're making the children not want to go to school. So it's very evident that the school has become a mistrusted place that is creating undue stress and harm upon the children. So any reasonable mom, as you have seen, because of this undue stress, you know, you recognize what does the children want to do, and the children does not want to go to school, which any rational thinking being could see why. No one wants to go into a energetic environment or an environment that is causing stress. It's normal human behavior. You don't want to do that. And, you know, with Aurora, she was coming home with tummy aches and different symptoms of stress that you were seeing. But also at the same time, you were oblivious to how the teacher and the director was also betraying your trust by not informing you what was going on at school. So for you being a mom to protect the child with the mother-child bonding and nurturing and protection, you just did what is a normal thing. Say, no, there must be another solution, and let's do homeschooling or free schooling, if you will. But again, they stepped in and said, no, you're not allowed to do that. You have to follow these rules of conformity, which subjugated the children to more stress instead of immediately separating the child from the stress environment. So again, the finger pointing of blame goes towards the teachers, the system itself, and of course, the ad hoc legal system is what I would call it, because it's only thrown together to support those that have an underlying agenda, as we're exposing with this. No legal system is legal or law when it begins to contradict itself with different laws. You know, for example, in the Constitution of Austria, your rights are respected. and it is a violation if they're violated. But if they're violated by a public servant, this also begins to be not a civil matter, more of a criminal matter. But then what you see is the system supporting the ones that are actually violating the Constitution. And what this does, it shows the ones that there is no Constitution for the people in Austria, nor any country worldwide, because the Constitution is just devised for the government to control people and also their legal systems. Um, but nevertheless, what I'm seeing, I just want to share this one quick thing. We're currently in Romania, and to my knowledge, what I was given uh, from a friend here last night um, is that she was attending I believe, a political meeting yesterday, and there is one perhaps politician or advocate, at least for homeschooling, that is bringing it up, because in Romania there is no homeschooling allowed. But what we see is, just last night, what I had to have this information, that homeschooling is being considered as a good option. And when we look at this, because everything is connected, I'm seeing this because of a result of what you are doing, Sister Nya, in Austria, but not only what you and your children are doing, it's all of the others that are beginning to energetically come together to make this huge group, because they're also co-creators to the respect that you change reality. And this is the only way to do it, is with the unity. But it's very great. I was very happy to see that now in Romania, homeschooling is being talked about as an option for the children. So that is an advancement forward. At least they're speaking about it.
Yes, yes. So it was before the corona times. It was allowed to do homeschooling. Afterwards, they changed it because so many ones left, which is normal, with all the regulation they put on. But the thing is, what I can see here is that they clearly try, to put all the blame to I, because, she was sitting there, and she, the director have already discussed a lot, with lawyers, and she looked at I and she said, oh, well, if you said it, we can sign up Aurora into the school again. And I looked at her and I said, you know, you can't reverse anything here, because everything has already happened. And she's already signed up into a different kind of school where she is right now. And, she also looked at I, and, she also said, the last time when Aurora was there, when I was with Aurora there, where Aurora was not fine, she said, well, I didn't see that anything was wrong. And I looked at her and I said, well, just before you said you only saw my daughter 2 times, and now you can say that my daughter was fine when you saw her. But also, you know that she was sick, before. She had always the problem with the tummy, because of everything that you have created there, and she said to I, and she sit there and she tried to defend herself. And at the specific point, she looked at I and she was like, do you don't think that you have, just from an objective point, that you have any, that's some kind of mistakes because of you, and then at this point, really, I looked at her and I said, like, no, I don't have done anything wrong. I did everything right as a mother to protect my child that is under stress, my child that was questioning in school, my child that was in fear about the father, my child that trusted into teacher and the director and being saved. We tried to find another solution, you know. And she said, yeah, the last time when you were there, we just presented you the solution that we will protect your child. And I said, you had 2 times to solve this. And then I came to you and you didn't give me the option, you know, that he's not coming or something. And she didn't have any trust into you and your organization anymore. And she said, oh no, we don't think, she don't have trust and blah, 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 and everything, you know. And I also know that they told the evaluator some kind of things, you know, and the evaluator put some kind of things into this saying, you know, I'm isolating my children and so on and so on. So they
This
are
is
all involved into
the
this.
psychological evaluator. Yeah, the psychologist.
Yes, yes, yeah, yes.
And
So
this is where the problem began with her because of her bias and a preconceived notion as well as jumping to conclusion. But because, yeah, but go ahead.
yes, the thing what I'm seeing here is because I had a witness there again, and she was like, she's more in a neutral. So every witness I'm taking with me, they are more neutral, but they are still also in the system. So what I can see is mostly that they are saying, oh, they can understand them. But, you know, every time when you are focusing, you know, because the school system and everything is indoctrinating you, trying that you believe that everything they are doing is right, you know, and that you have to obey it. But when you look at it, you know, from your human perspective or human rights, you know, and as Rick said, there are laws in Austria which allows you to protect yourself in case of self-defense and emergency if someone wants to take your freedom or to take away your self-discernment, right? So what I did was self-defense and protection of my children, and also what I did because I saw that they are clearly acting in a corrupt way. So, you know, that is also inside the laws. And that law, those two laws, I brought it up the last time in court as well, you know, meaning like, you know, I was just protecting me and my children. And, you know, I said to the director as well, you know, I can't tell my child to go to the school, to coerce her to go in school while I see her, she's so under stress, and that's creating some psychological effects onto her. But also, you know, the reason why we had to go there for her to face it is, you know, the more you're running away, the stronger it gets, you know, and then the more you fall into a fear state, you know, you don't want to go outside anymore. That has happened with both of my children because they normally go out and play outside and they didn't want it to go there anymore,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So after we went to the kindergarten, after we went to the school, everything changed for them and they started to go outside again. They started to play outside because they were not in fear, you know, because they were not running away about that, you know. And you know, if someone, you know, especially in the education system, has a good social competence or is educated in those way, would know that. But what I have seen honestly through all the articles are now coming up, that there are pedophiles hired in school, right? There are a lot of cases here in my state
Well,
or other kinds of things, you know, which is totally not
perhaps
acceptable.
perhaps this gives me the opening very quickly just in Canada to just share two important points. I believe it was only around maybe 2 to 3 years ago, it was more recent, that in Canada, and I believe it was in Ontario, the province, where a child trafficking and sexual abuse uh, was a small crime ring was cracked down. But importantly, what it involved was teachers at school. It involved the local police department as well were participating, some of the police officers in this crime. So I need to bring this up that the teachers were actually part of a child sex trafficking and abuse ring, as well as some of the local police at ensuring, you know, the safety of their criminal operation would not be exposed, but it did. So that is one incident for anyone from Canada that's watching that you can begin to look at again, which is substantiating the systematic of intentional abuse. But also very quickly in British Columbia, Canada, uh, more recently, correctly, it has also been uncovered, and I believe it's even at the kindergarten school, if I remember correctly, that the teachers, if they think that a child with their gender is, let's say, if a boy starts acting girlish, like when they're in kindergarten, um, that they'll start to give them sex hormones so that they can transition to being more girl-like, even if they're a boy. To keep this simple for the viewers without using the technical terms. And, you know, what occurred also, one case that I was looking at, I think about 3 years ago, is that this man with his, I think it was with his daughter that turned into a boy, or his boy that turned into a daughter at age 12, but he was oblivious to what was going on, and the school was administering these hormones to assist with a sexual transition, and you know, against his knowledge. And so this is also to show ones a little bit more, and especially in Canada, how the school system is also experimenting on the children without the parents' consent, but also doing it without the parents even knowing. Um, so again, what we're speaking about, that's Canada, and you can go perhaps worldwide and find out the evidence of what is actually occurring worldwide. So I just wanted to share those. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, I also heard, you know, I don't have evidence yet, because there's such a wide area, you know, to get into, but I also heard about those kind of cases, you know, where they said, you know, the child wants to be a girl or a boy, you know, and they child welfare came in, you know, and take away the child again, you know. So, you know, there's so many things. Or also, you know, you know, honestly, I stopped also, you know, talking with that woman because I clearly saw that she's causing, you know, all the troubles. And I clearly didn't trusted her, you know, and also don't let her into my house because I don't have to. But, you know, there are also a lot of cases, you know, especially for single mothers, they come in, oh, it's messy. But what means messy? You have children, they are playing around. But if it is messy, you know, they can say, oh, you are so overwhelmed, you know, with your child, and they just take it away. So there are also cases with that. I also saw cases, you know, with ones where the child was taken away. The child was giving, you know, a lot of medicaments and coming out, you know, of the crisis intervention center, you know, completely almost dead, you know. So there are more and more things with that. You know, the more I see documents, I see real documents, court documents, the more it gets really, really weird and crazy, you know, because you can, you know, everyone who is still in the system could never believe it, you know, but, you know, we know it's not a conspiracy theory. It's getting, you know, the number of cases increases. It doesn't go down, it
Yeah.
increases.
It's fact with incontestable testimony to support that. And when I say incontestable testimony with these facts of truth, what this means, it is no one that would even need to go to court because the facts are incontestable, that it would just be a sentencing with it when these ones are caught. Of course, they have their right of defense, but there is no defense with incontestable facts. And this is what we're beginning to uncover. And again, we see in Austria, the entire system is connected, and the entire system is connected because to the president of Austria, you had requested from them to show any perceived ownership of them by the children, any claim, and they could not provide it. But neither did they say, no, we don't have any. To my knowledge, there was no reply. And this is even further incriminating if you will, to a slight degree by not replying to this. But the overall truth is that they cannot supply any documents that say they own the children. And because of this, no child care services or any institution or government worldwide can take your children from you, especially from the mom, because if any ownership is due, it is to the mom that actually gave the childbirth, or the birth to the children, and they are the immediate guardian and custodian. And again, the mother's word um, should idealistically prevail, and not a child services or a government, if you will, because again, there is no claim of ownership that they can legally or lawfully put out that is incontestable. That where they cannot do this, they have no jurisdiction over you and your children. They're forcing this on ones worldwide, but the real truth is they don't have any jurisdiction. And once you know this and you confront them with this, it begins the process that they got to backpedal very quickly, and it also begins to self-destruct their entire system, government systems, and their artificial man-made legal law systems, what they call law, but it's not actually law. But I don't want to go into that. So with the sister Nga, so we're going forward at because one of the reasons why it's taking a little bit longer is because, as Sister Nya shared, the information is so extensive, but also the amount of victims and groups that were isolated on their own worldwide. So it's a process of bringing these and uniting them together as one big voice. And it is also Nya's ongoing case and focus on getting the children back as soon as possible in her care. So she has been absolutely busy. And also, we are working on, let's say, investigative journalists and journalists as well to put this story out much more worldwide. So there is the investigation that we say that we have initiated and that has begun, and particularly upon the whole government of Austria, but also worldwide with this, because as we bring in more worldwide, they have had the same experiences of their children stolen from them. So this is a very important initialization of a worldwide unity with this to get your children back that were taken unlawfully from you. So having said this again, it's one of the reasons that, as anyone can understand, it takes time. Ideally, we'd like to get it done as soon as possible. However, it's becoming very apparent that there is a process with it, and that with everything we do, we have to at least give a day or a few days for it to take and have effect. One thing I will say, and even though it doesn't say it online, in Europe and connected to the US, with over 30 countries involved, and to my knowledge, Austria was involved. I think it's 1.8 million child pornography, sexual abuse ring, and online, with many arrested and many being arrested, is a result of some of this work we're doing, because it also forces any government, if they're to sustain any degree of credibility, they must act. And to whatever degree, even if they throw their own to the sharks, if you will. For them to establish any credibility, they must take action. However, the impeccable timing with what I just said, this huge crime ring involving children, it only come out, I think, 3 days ago or so, and it is also a byproduct of what we're doing because it's forcing the envelope on the establishments, and it also, there has to be accountability for all of these injustices. So the process has already begun, and it is having a worldwide effect. You know, as we said when we began speaking about this publicly, that it was worldwide. It's not just Austria. And then what you've seen as a representation of what we said, this most recent crackdown that involves over 30 countries worldwide, which includes USA, and also not sure if it's connected. It may be, well, of course, everything is connected with child abuse and trafficking, but I've just seen in Florida, USA, just yesterday, another ring, or at least a few that are being also exposed with child abuse. So we're seeing this come more and more to the surface as we begin to expose these injustices and break down the system that protected these injustices. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to add something, for those one who are not that deep, into that whole topic, is to share that the child welfare, they changed everything in times of the Second World War. So the child service was allowed, to step into it. But, many people are telling I that, yeah, but there are children, they are not fine. Yes, maybe. And yes, not everyone is involved, like every teacher. But, what we start to highlight here is that there is something, going on. And also, to say, why are there so many cases? Why did they never, ever changed it since decades about this permission? Why? Why are they making so much money with it? Because normally, if something doesn't work, you have to change it. You have to change the law. Why is this the only thing they never changed? Why is it hidden? Why is nothing in the outside? Why? Where's the money going? Just to think about it, for those who are not too much involved. But there is something indeed here. And that shows, that they hide something,
Well,
and why they want to hold on to
yeah,
this.
it's a business that the government is paying for it, as we see. And it's because the government, any government worldwide, has the full opportunity to unlimited money. But let's say what it's doing, again, we go back to the incentivizing of the ones that are that are at that are in the field closest to the children, because there is that incentivization of the monetary reward, at least to their schools or what have you. But again, when you trace the money, who's supporting this? Where is it coming from? And it comes from the government. So those are the ones that are causing it, because they're making it, if you will, a lucrative business as well for the ones that participate in it. And also, there are, let's say, you can find a money trail that's on paper to some respect, but when you find that, it's only the tip of the iceberg of the money trails that you cannot see that go on behind the scenes. So meaning that you don't actually know how much of a kick back a certain child care services one is getting, if you will, because it would be cash with no record of it. So you don't know if it exists, but also you don't know if it doesn't exist. But where you begin to see that there is the money paid as a result of the children, and at a rate that is much more above what it takes to look after a child for a day. We'll go back, with an institution receiving 300, 400, 500, 600 euro per day for one child to look after them. That is absolutely irrational and unreasonable when when you have your child at home, it doesn't cost that much. So you can see that there is a business, a huge profit with it, but you can see that the amount of profit with it is also an incentive for ones to do this, to participate in it. So regardless of how much one, if it exists or not, that one is getting paid with money, cash money, what we are seeing is what is out there to be seen, that there is the evidence of a money trail which fully supports this.
Yes, what I do want to add is while I was doing some researches, I also found a case 2017 in Graz, in Styria, where a lot of children were sexually abused, in a place where for
And
children.
this is Austria, correct?
Yes, yes, and the jurisdiction and the federal department were already investigating and had a lot of evidence. So they came back to the child welfare to request their help and the evidence. They didn't help. They didn't have to. They didn't give any information. So that is something that is also reoccurring here in Austria, that they don't cooperate. So, I mean, at one point they always say, you don't cooperate with them, you have to cooperate, but they also don't cooperate. They are hiding things. So there are also a lot of cases, where children get suicide in those center. Also a lot of sexual abusement. So also in Germany and Austria, there is a place called Weissering. They collect especially those cases where ones who were under child welfare care were sexual abused, or in other kind of ways, and the number is very, very high. But also interesting, I tried to find that article again, it just went missing. I had it a case ago, but there's a lot, the last trace, it's very interesting. 2017, there were some big ones coming up, like also, the thing with Rosenhügel und am Spiegelgrund, that they found out that in the 60, 50, 70, a lot of children were abused and put under medication and everything. And then it just vanished again, right?
Oh,
So,
interesting.
all the information and news, you never hear anything anymore about that case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
2017, I'm just sharing that, but I also had, talked, with other fathers as well, saying that the child didn't want to stay with the mother. And I was
So
like,
we're also seeing the media there in Austria then connected as well. We're meaning that things are not reported on, but we could also say go missing, and which is interesting. But you also mentioned earlier in this in this live that one of the pedophiles or what have you, he got promoted to being with the media instead of going to jail, if you will. So he got rewarded, for his gross indecency with the children, to whatever that may entail. And also with one of them in the major crimes that happened there in Austria in the war, he was convicted in 1973, I think 20 years after all of these experiments, but he did not serve any sentence. The government of Austria actually gave him a medal, and he got promoted, if you will. And the medal was not retracted from him, I think, until about 30 years later in the early 2000s. And so again, it's yeah, it's ridiculous. What do you go ahead, Sister? Yeah.
Yes. So what my researches also shows is you can find, you can find a lot, but I figured out that a lot of those institutions for mental sickness, where they did a lot of experiments, which we know, in every country, but one of the biggest and first one was created in Austria. There is no incident. We have Sigmund Freud, who was, researching dream analyzations. But I do feel, from my opinion, more it's some kind of, messing up with the subconscious mind to reprogram, you know. So there is a lot of evidence and connection also, but also, I think Maria Theresia, which have created, the school education, that you have to go to school, have also connection to Africa as well. And we know Africa is also involved, into a lot of experiments on the children as well. And she changed a lot of things in the Austrian government, meaning like a lot of money then went in. But she has also, connections to the Rothschild, which has created the first bank in Austria as well. So, I see a lot of things popping up. I read a lot of historical documents as well, and to see, how they treat criminals here in Austria. But what I can see is that they are all protecting those. Nothing happens to them. It looks very, very corrupt, from my
Yeah,
opinion. And also,
and
with the medical experiments, psychological experiments, mind controlling, messing up, with the minds, which, the easiest thing is to traumatize one, and then you can start, to gain trust, and then to tell them things. And that's also the thing they try to do, with my children, because every time they listen to the chats with the children, and afterwards, they tell them something different to correct things that I have just shared with them, right? So I do know that they're doing this, but I do trust my children because they are very powerful and very self-discernment. And it's not so easy, to manipulate someone who is questioning things and very powerful, But I'm just sharing those researches that I had get into to highlight that Austria was somehow in the shadows, but plays a very interesting role worldwide, and is clearly connected with Rothschild, because Rothschild was the one who created also, those kind of clinics, which is also connected, with, I think on that place is also, the water bunker, which gives Vienna the whole water. And also, the studio for the television studio as well. And everything is on one point, on one hill. And a lot of elites are living there as well. So I don't know. And it's also a very big zoo, the first zoo in whole Europe, for those who knows, can make now connections and bringing the dots together as well. So I'm just saying that.
oh,
So
a
that is,
zoo. Yeah, a zoo with animals. Yeah, for the children, to bring them in at least close proximity. Exactly. And, we could also go with Walt Disney in the past, how some of the workers there would observe children, and there'd be the aftermath of something occurring as well. And this has been documented. But, what I need to say, within any system of law or any legal system, there has to be, for anything to be law, there has to be accountability. And what this means is that no one is above the law to that degree, meaning that there cannot be impunity, which means that they are protected from criminal charges. When you see this, this is bias. And what this creates is bias is partial. It's not impartial, which is the basis of law. So what this also shows you, where that is in their legal
Excuse me, I just
system.
step out for a while, just to let you know, because you don't see me.
Oh, oh,
I
I
step
can't see
out.
you anyway. Yeah, yeah. But the legal system is not law, because you have to have a place to assign accountability. So when that is not there, it is not a lawful system nor a lawful structure. One of the things, and yeah, could correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll see, at least in countries worldwide, where there is the immunity and impunity for the judges, which makes which creates a conflict of system for their legal system, but it also creates a scenario that doesn't allow accountability for corrupt judges. Now, with this, even though humanity is advancing forward, we'll go quickly to the U.S. in the profitable prison business, where I believe at least one judge or several judges in the eastern U.S. That they were making a huge profit at, with anyone, let's just say, had a misdemeanor or just got caught with some marijuana in the U.S., the judge would give them a ridiculous sentence to put them in jail, because again, the jails and the way it's set up in the U.S., it's a big business, and the longer that someone is in jail, the more that the government would give the jails, if you will, the money. So it's the same type of a criminal system. But there has to be accountability for the judges. Also, over the years in Canada, more notably what occurred in British Columbia, because without getting into the scandal, what actually occurred, you had many judges that were resigning, with also some judges disappearing. And this was also connected to what they called the infamous Waterworks case. But I don't wish to go into that. But also, what you saw in British Columbia was a huge shortage of judges, but also police in Canada as well, that they were recruiting. You would see when I was there on Victoria Island, off of part of Vancouver, you would see the police cars going around with we're recruiting. So you saw them advertising. But what was occurring, it is because more of the police that actually had souls that were good ones, they could no longer be a part of the unlawful actions by the RCMP and the police in Canada. So they would have to leave. Many of them took post PS um, uh, psychological leave, if you will. And many of them utilized that so that they could get money, at least to keep their families going, until it all got exposed about the corruption in Canada as well, and with the government. And of course, over the last 4 years worldwide, so many violations upon the people by the governments, that the people actually, are the governments are supposed to represent the people, but what they come to find out, that is not the way things actually work. So more was exposed and revealed. Are you back, Sister Nya?
Yes.
Go ahead. Just filling some space. What else can we share that has transpired, that we feel is relevant at this time. You know, I've shared we're still putting everything together. There's so much information. Is there any other stories that you have heard, the real experiences that you wish to share, to show more of the actual manipulation? What else do you wish to share?
Oh, right now, just give me a second. No, I think I covered a lot already because as you can see, it's and also said it's very extensive. So my next step is also, you know, to go more into it. So what I'm doing is, you know, continuing with my steps to get the children as soon as possible out without going and be confused, you know, by their, you know, because how they trick you is, you know, to cooperate with them, to go into their system. Then you have to go through several steps, you know, to comply and get the court order. But it's not what I'm looking for. I don't want to wait. I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
back.
yeah. So
And next
yeah,
thing
so it's
also,
designed. Yeah, so
yes. So
designed to keep the children longer and longer, so they present you with a false hope, but their underlying agenda is to keep the children longer and longer. And yeah, and so no, you're not falling for that. You're not getting sucked into that. Yeah, go ahead.
yes, so I will also, you know, step more, you know, in contact with others because I honestly have to tell you, the moment I speak with the mother and saw the video, you know, of that shot, we, you know, we were sitting there and we were just crying. Every time when I see those beautiful children, you know, it's,
So wrong.
yes, it's heartbreaking, you know, you have to cry, you know, and I don't want to look away, you know, you know, because there's something happening. The more you look away, the more you pretend, the more you forgot about those who are in, you know, who were taken away because, you know, it's about the children, you know, and we are watching this since years. It's not that we don't know it, but now it's time to uncover it, you know, divinely and support it also. You know, everyone is supported and protected who is stepping into this, but also, you know, it's quite intense, you know, to get to get into it, to read documents, to connect with others. So my next step is also, you know, to check out the new contacts I got, to see how 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 it works out. You know, I saw a political woman, for example. um she's already, you know, part of a political, you know, I have to say I'm not trusting politics because I also don't know how the illusion is created, right? But you know, I'm always open. We are always open for everything that is coming in, and we have to go in, right, to discover it. And she already have made interviews with one where the children were abducted as well. So, and also, you know, other women who are working, you know, to fight for the rights of the children and to see if I can get more evidence. But you know, it's some kind of difficult sometimes because they could, you know, they're hiding. They don't want to go in front, or you know, they are happy that they have the children back after a year, and they don't want to be involved into this anymore, and are clearly traumatized. You know, or also, you know, sometimes to guide them, you know, to tell them, oh, I need the facts. Could you write something, you know? But the thing is, they kept us so long in the darkness that the most of the people don't know about their rights. They also don't know about the laws, you know, about Austria, because it's so complicated written that it takes an enormous amount of energy and intelligence, you know, to get through it. You know, it's a lot, you know, but
It's
it's made, you
designed
know,
that way.
intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's intentionally, deliberately designed that way. And again, you know, the premise and the basis for any law is to be simple and straightforward and concise, without any ambiguation, if you will. But what we find is they have complicated it with, you know, the Constitution and the laws. Then they make amendments, and they don't really announce it. So they have misleading and false information out there in respect to their laws as well, with not a clear, concise, updated version that is readily accessible and in, if you will, layman's terms, simple language. And as you're saying, their laws are intentionally done that way to dissuade ones from knowing, the deeper truths, and to lengthen out any chance at getting some form of justice. But again, the system is designed to restrict any justice from the ones. It's designed with all of the red tape, with applications and all of this to dissuade ones from taking action, and to constantly drain them and keep them in a place of stress. So when they're unable to uh, defend themselves, they're in a place of stress. But then when they need to reach out to get a lawyer, then the financial burdening comes in onto that as well, compounding the amount of stress. So the systems worldwide are designed to do this, to inflict the harm. And that is why this entire worldwide system is being replaced. It's with the ratification process currently ongoing with GPMS.WORLD to replace this current worldwide system with the system of do no harm and abundance, and also the simple laws that come with it. And in this new world that we're quickly going towards, there will not be in the near future any need for any courts, because also there will not be any crime, for the simple reason that the replacement system of GPMS.WORLD gives money to every individual, including every child. So it takes away any incentive of one's needing to profit in this old capitalistic system. And as a result of that, what we're currently ratifying worldwide, GPMS.WORLD, it's so important that everyone consents with this and add your vote, your accord to the ratification. And upon reaching the majority worldwide, it's enacted into law. So what this does, because there is no personal gain from any anymore, they cannot be bought by money because they have their own, it takes away that incentive for all, so that then they don't engage in the lucrative child trafficking industry, because there is no incentive. They don't need the big reward of money, if you will, where every individual worldwide has all of the money, all of the comfort that they need individually. So this totally eradicates any incentivizing of that. And as a result, no one then would even wish to participate in any child abuse or abduction of children. Go ahead.
Yes, I would advise everyone who is in this situation, to document everything, record everything as much as possible, to read a little bit, at least, about the rights, just to know, because mostly, the lawyer knows it, but he wouldn't, not every lawyer would help you, right? So that's the reason why I don't have a lawyer.
Yeah, because some of the lawyers are also paid by the system that, as you said earlier, they would not confront the child services because they were part of it and they knew what was occurring. So these lawyers had sold their soul, if you will, but also they are an accomplice to the crimes that are going on as well. So the lawyers are actually acting in a unlawful status or stature.
Yes, yes. So, well, I had a doctor who went into this. You know, he was in times of Corona where he stepped up, you know, and speak his truth, but also, you know, helped other mothers and fathers, you know, to put their children out of school in times of Corona. And he's doing it this way, meaning like, you know, he did it by his own and he was very successful, I think in 5 cases or something. And, you know, wrote everything down, you know, wrote everything down. It doesn't matter, you know, you have everything there. Then you can, for example, you know, what he's doing, you know, he just found a lawyer who is working for him, meaning like he said he wants to go into that direction, and she just, you know, because there are some cases where you need a lawyer, you know, to submit something. So he had her and she was submitting it for her. But, you know, he didn't ended up, you know, because there was a disposal from the local government telling him he shouldn't protest, you know, in times of Corona. But, you know, that disposal also came from the police department. So what he did was he didn't strike back only, you know, to this government. He totally strike back also, you know, to the police and in everyone involved. So the thing is also, you know, don't fear it, because you didn't, you know, if you didn't do any harm and if you didn't do any crime, they are wrong and not you. So don't go into that belief what they want you to believe, you know, because that's also one of the tactics. So what he also shared a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
maybe related to a timeline shift also a little bit. I think it was in a different state, and he said he went to so many court appointments as well, also as a witness. And it was the first time ever he was in court. The judge recorded every sentence, you know. And this doesn't happen with us in our, you know, in our court. And he really recorded every sentence. He was very respectful. He was very objective to everyone inside the court. He also had a television there, or a monitor, where he showed, you know, what he was referencing to. That it should be that way. And also, you know, while asking witnesses, he was very focused. He was, you know, he compared the thing the witness said, you know, with the paper. Because as a witness, you're not allowed to lie. You have to be honest. And that's very important, because everything you said can be harming, you know, those one in court. So that was a perfect example of everything, right?
Yeah.
Which has to go that way. But, you know, I'm just sharing it because that's a very rare case of someone, you know, being objective, respectful, not siding with anyone, and protocoling everything that is said in court without leaving anything out. Like, you know, like in my case, like, you know, attacking I in front of the court and not recording it, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, now you know how the father is feeling, which is, you know, which is totally clear that you see she's subjective and holding to the father, and also attacking I, which what a judge should never do, you know. So you then know he's already biased, and he
Yeah.
cannot continue with your
Acting,
case in no way.
acting unlawfully, but also there has to be justice towards that judge. Again, they have to be accountable for a legal system to be just and to be in effect. There has to be that accountability. So this is why we say with the Austria legal system, it's really null and void because of, you know, many, if we're to look deeper into it, we can see where the legal system is not morally based on the rule of law, if you will, and the basis of law. So therefore, where it's not, it cannot provide equal justice for the simple reason there's impunity there. And when there is not equal justice, this is bias, which is partial, and it defies fully what a legal or lawful system is supposed to be and represent. in the courts, what Sister Nga referred to, we brought it up before. I'll bring it up just quickly again. There is in the courts what is supposed to be is a recording of the court setting. Sometimes there are scribes with a transcript, and then the judge later will edit the transcript. And in some cases, they have the recording now. But it's important for any of you to get, if you were in any of these court settings, to get a copy of, if it was a written transcript, to get the copy of the unedited version, and then also get the copy of the edited version that was done later by the judge. And what you want to look for is any incriminating evidence in there with omissions that the judge left out that was not in your best interest. But also it's important to take names of all government, police, child services, to take their names, get a contact number, and also everyone needs to realize that they take an oath of office. So if they lie, what they do is they breach their oath and they're unable to remain in office if you can incontestably prove that. Also in court, with perjury is one of the terms for it, that if you lie in court knowingly, it is perjury and you lose your oath as a witness or able to testify in anything. But if you're a civil servant, like a child care services, if you violate and you lie in court, it violates your oath of office, and lawfully you cannot remain in office, so you're fired. That has to be, but with the system, it's unable to protect the ones if all of you record the names, the contact numbers, and keep going public in identifying the figures in the child care services, the police, publicly showing what they have did wrong. Then it forces the government, if they are going to take any action, to take criminal action against them. And what this does, it begins even more of the crackdown on the criminality, what is occurring. So your biggest weapon or your biggest offensive in all of this is going public with everything, as Sister Nga is doing here, because this is placing the accountability on them from your huge public. So as you gather the public sentiment, which is that public support, it forces the government or what have you to serve justice. And if the government does not serve justice, it implicates the government as well and makes them complicit and if not an accomplice in the crime, the originator of a crime as well. So it's important to know the power of the public. And also within any legal system worldwide, the onus is upon the people to ensure that justice is given, meaning that if you have a corrupt government or legal system, it becomes the civil duty in their terms to expose the system, what is illegal. But in every country, well, let's say democratic countries, there is that obligation that is also there within their laws, that if you see something that is unjust, it becomes the moral obligation to report that. But again, because the system is itself is corrupt, you have to report it to the people, and that puts the pressure upon the governments. Everyone needs to realize that the governments are actually supposed to be the employers of the people, meaning that they have to listen to you. But what they have done is they have flipped it, making the people think you got to listen to the government. But the actual truth is, no, the governments are elected representations of the people. So they're to act in the public's best interest and to serve a justice. And when they don't do that, they incriminate themselves, to keep it simple. But Sister Nga, we've been on here quite a while. Is there any closing statements?
No, so well, yes, the only thing, if you, yeah, if anyone have any cases in regards to this, please send me a message or contact me, or if you have any question or just want to share your story or something, I'm here. And I do not make anything public, if someone doesn't want it. So everything I shared today, I have asked everyone before, am I allowed to make it as a reference? So just to let you all know. So yes, thank you. And thank you so much again, Rick, for having me sharing this story and also clarifying a lot for everyone.
Well, thank you. It's absolutely divinely noble what you are doing, and it's absolutely impressive. And being the example for the rest of the world and the parents to stand up now. So what you have undertaken with this whole experience is beyond impression, if you will. And we continue forward to release all of the children, and this is the way to do it. Everyone join worldwide. We get one universal group or what have you, whatever we need to do to expose us. And as Sister Nya said, especially in Austria or Germany, which is close, any cases or, even worldwide, you can contact, and one thing that we may do, because this is, this one is number 2, that it has to be the series because we're bringing in more testimony and more evidence and more proof. So this doesn't stop. And part of that is so important at hearing stories from or experiences from the individual victims as well that have had the children taken. So having said this, I'm contemplating, if one has a very important story, both the unjust kidnapping of their children by the child care services, send me a private message and we can do a live like this on it. Also, to get your story out to show the rest of the people of the criminal activity in the institutions, but also the government support of it. So we are giving you many tips and clues what to look for. Sister Nya, excuse me, has done an impressive job at, let's say, forensic investigation, which goes into everything and looks at every detail, because with that you comprise a more concrete, absolute case by doing this. And it's so important that we do this. So part of this worldwide investigation on the governments and the institutions, it is important to have the individual testimony as well. Come on live, give your story, and give it to the world, because this got to stop right now. These children have to be saved, and it's only you and I, all of us, that can do it. And this is the only way. So with that, I believe we've covered everything today, didn't we?
Yes.
Sister? Yeah, for now. So you continue forward, and hopefully the children are returned very, very soon. The events, what we're seeing, is beginning to look more favorable as the jeopardy the system has placed it in there becomes more obvious to them that they don't have a choice. So they're beginning to realize that they have changed their demeanor towards Nga, more nicer, more respectful, where before they were demeaning her to the lowest and patronizing her and trying to control her. But where they saw they could not do that, now they have no choice but to be submissive to the extent that they must give the children back as soon as possible. And the way we are doing it really is the only real way now with what we're doing for you to get your children back, anyone to get your children back, because what we are showing is again that in this institutional crime, police, criminal investigators, the government itself is involved in it, to whatever country it may be. And again, the onus is on the individual. If you wish to get true justice, it has to come from the gathering and the unity of the people and standing up and saying, this is no longer acceptable. We do not accept it any longer, and it's got to stop now.
Yes, and so it is.
Woo!
Great. Love, light, and gratitude to you, Brother Rick, and to everyone who watched this. So thank you so much.
Love, light, and gratitude to you, and a little prayer to support Akua and Aurora and Sister Nya.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, love, light, and gratitude, everyone. And come on, let's do this. Join in. I know in the U.S. there's lots of stories, and also Canada. So this is worldwide. Come in. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
yes. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. You're welcome. Bye now.